Oh. Oh my god! Oh my god! Holy shit!
In the picturesque city of Dunedin, nestled on New Zealand's South Island and often referred to as the Edinburgh of the South, a horrific tragedy unfolded in the peaceful suburb of Anderson's Bay. Known for its scenic harbour and the surrounding hills of an ancient extinct volcano, Dunedin is home to the University of Otago and has a relatively small population of about 130,000. It was here, in this serene setting, that Amber Rose Rush's life was tragically cut short. On the night of February 2nd, 2018, Amber Rose was at home, chatting online with her boyfriend, Kristen Clark. Around 11:26 p.m., she sent her sister Chantal a message that read, "I'm so angry." Chantal, unaware of the gravity of the situation, only saw the message the following morning and replied, "Why?" but received no response. At 11:53 p.m., Amber Rose responded to a message from Kristen Clark saying, "I won't be allowed." A minute later, Clark offered to pick her up, saying, "I'm willing to do anything for you." But she never replied. Clark, increasingly concerned, drove to Amber Rose's house and knocked on her window around 12:10 a.m., receiving no response. He presumed she was asleep. Shortly after, Amber Rose's brother, Jaden, and his partner arrived home from work. Jaden noticed the spare keys were still in the front door and the kitchen light was on, both unusual occurrences due to Amber Rose's meticulous habits. Wanting to tease her about her forgetfulness, he lightly tapped on her door but received no answer. Like Kristen, he assumed she was asleep. Had they arrived just minutes earlier, they might have witnessed, or even prevented, the tragedy which had unfolded. The next morning, Amber Rose's mother, Lisa, went to her daughter's room to let out the family dog, Storm, and wake her sleeping daughter. Expecting the usual sleepy protest, Lisa called out to Amber Rose, whose face was hidden beneath a pillow. The unsettling silence prompted Lisa to move closer, where she noticed a bloodstain on the pillow. Initially thinking it was a nosebleed, she lifted the pillow to uncover a horrific sight. Amber Rose was lifeless, with a gaping wound on her neck. Lisa's screams shattered the morning calm, bringing her partner, Brendan McNee, rushing into the room. Brendan attempted CPR, but tragically, her body was already cold and stiff. Amidst the chaos, Lisa urged Jaden to leave the room and call emergency services, while Brendan searched for a murder weapon. Lisa was left wailing in despair beside her 16-year-old daughter, who lay lifeless in a pool of her own blood. As the investigation unfolded, it was revealed that Amber Rose had sent her boyfriend, Kristen, screenshots of a heated exchange with a 30-year-old doctor named Venod Skantha on the night she died. Kristen had offered to pick her up, but she declined. During the trial, it was contended that she was murdered close to midnight. The tragic event became the focus of a case filled with allegations of sexual misconduct, drug use, prostitution, and the loss of 3 lives. At its center stands a doctor, an unlikely figure in such a disturbing saga. The autopsy report conducted by pathologist Dr. Kate White revealed the chilling details of Amber Rose's final moments. She had suffered several wounds to her neck and throat, but the most significant was a deep cut on the left side of her neck. This wound measured 110 millimeters in length and was severe, severing her carotid artery, damaging other blood vessels and her windpipe. The weapon had gone deep enough to leave marks on her vertebrae. The wound extended past her left ear and reached beyond the base of her skull, with an estimated depth of 5 to 6 centimeters at its deepest point. Despite the severity, it would have taken a few minutes for Amber Rose to bleed out, illustrating the cruel nature of the attack she endured. She also suffered several other injuries, including 2 stab wounds to the back of her neck, though most of these were superficial and not fatal on their own. The nature of the fatal wound indicated a disturbing fact. The person who inflicted it knew what they were doing. This was a calculated act of violence. As the details of the autopsy report were revealed, the horrifying reality of Amber Rose's final moments sent shockwaves through the community. The haunting question on everyone's mind was, who would want to kill Amber Rose in such a brutal manner, and who was the man she had been arguing with? The man in question was Dr. Venod Skantha, a 30-year-old whom Amber Rose had met in 2017 through mutual friends when she was just 15 years old. Skantha was known to exclusively hang out with teenagers, often hosting parties at his house. At one point, Amber Rose considered the idea of moving into Skantha's luxurious Fairfield home with another teenage friend. Discussing this with her sister, Chantal had said that it sounded as if Skantha might be positioning himself as a sugar daddy and engaging in grooming behavior with Amber Rose. However, Amber Rose insisted that Skantha was more of a father figure and told Chantal that she had even used Skantha's credit card to order things off the online shopping website Wish, and that he probably wouldn't even notice. However, her mother prohibited her from moving in with the doctor, much to Amber Rose's dismay. In a subsequent conversation, Amber Rose mentioned intending to visit Skantha's house with her mother to either extract money from him or involve the police. He had offered Amber Rose $50 for sex before raising it to $20,000. Were they attempting to blackmail him for money? Welcome to another episode of Sofa, Mocha and Mystery. As we near 1,000 subscribers, I'd like to give a huge thank you to those who are supporting me on this journey. I'd also like to give a shout out to Mega Queen Bee for participating in the Travel Sleuth Challenge, which still remains open. Watch my shorts, which have all the clues as to where in the world I've been traveling. Also, any suggestions as to how to celebrate the 1,000 subscribers milestone? Comment below. Let's now continue with the very sad case of the murder of 16-year-old Amber Rose Rush. Dr. Venod Skantha was a graduate of the University of Auckland Medical School and worked as a junior doctor at Dunedin Hospital during the time in question. However, his behavior deteriorated significantly with increased alcohol consumption. There were instances where he showed up to work intoxicated and even treated patients under such conditions. In July 2017, he narrowly avoided dismissal from the Dunedin Public Hospital for being drunk while performing a procedure and negligent behavior. However, he had escaped dismissal by claiming that his mother had died, which turned out to be untrue. This led to conflicts with friends, including a physical altercation over his treatment of someone, and another incident where a friend smashed Skantha's BMW wing mirror in response to his derogatory remarks about women. The situation between Amber Rose and Venod escalated in January 2018 after a party at Skantha's residence, where Amber Rose woke up to find his hand down her pants and her top and bra removed. She suspected she had been drugged. On the 2nd of February 2018, an argument between Amber and Venod Skantha began, sparked by the use of his credit card. In retaliation, Amber accused him of molesting her the month prior in January 2018 and threatened to expose his behavior to the police and his workplace. She shared a Facebook chat exchange with Skantha on Instagram at 11 p.m, alleging that he was supplying alcohol to minors and behaving inappropriately towards them. She admonished him to mature and vowed to expose him for the sick person he was. A 16-year-old mutual friend of Amber and Skantha's saw Amber Rose's post to Instagram and immediately sent a screenshot to Venod. Skantha flew into a rage, concerned about potentially losing his job, medical license, and further repercussions the now public allegations might have made on his reputation and life. It was at this stage that Amber Rose and Skantha began arguing via Facebook Messenger. Skantha pleaded with her to delete the post, but she refused. Their exchange concluded at 11:25 p.m, with Amber Rose telling him, "I hope you pay for it, and I hope you go to sleep at night hating yourself." At the same time, Skantha messaged the unnamed mutual friend of the pair and said, "I'm coming to get you." At 11:39 p.m, a BMW belonging to Venod Skantha was recorded on CCTV driving towards Dunedin, where the friend awaited. When Skantha arrived at the friend's home, he told the teenager to drive to Amber Rose's house. The young man noted that Skantha smelt of alcohol as he proclaimed, "I have a master plan," instructing the teen to park around the corner from Amber Rose's house, presumably so that the distinctive sound of his car engine could not be heard. The car came to a stop. Skantha instructed his friend to draw a map of Amber Rose's house, indicating specifically where her bedroom was. The teenager also told Skantha about a spare key which was hidden beneath a Buddha statue next to the front door. Dressed in dark attire and wearing gloves, Dr. Venod Skantha made his way towards Amber Rose's home on Clomistein Avenue, shrouded by midnight darkness. The unnamed teen waited in the car for between 5 and 10 minutes, whilst he presumed Venod Skantha was confronting Amber Rose about her Instagram post. Upon returning to the vehicle, Skantha gripped Amber Rose's bloodied phone, its cover revealing her driver's license. With deliberate force, he flung the phone onto the street and began crushing it beneath its foot, intent on erasing any incriminating evidence. Unbeknownst to him, the phone's camera had been inadvertently activated just after midnight, capturing clear images of him at the crime scene and in the act of destruction. Turning to the teenager, Skantha instructed him to open the car door. As he settled into the vehicle, he casually stashed one of his blood-stained kitchen knives into the car door's pocket. The teen's eyes widened. "Vinny, what have you done?" To which Dr. Venod Skantha replied, "Oh, it doesn't matter." Just moments later, Kristen, Amber Rose's boyfriend, arrived at her house, followed shortly by her brother Jaden and his partner. Had Skantha been just a few minutes later, he would have been seen by 3 witnesses. Skantha directed the teenager to drive him to Blackhead Quarry nearby, where along the way, he confessed to the murder of Amber Rose. He recounted how he nearly sliced off her ear and then cut her vocal cords to prevent her from screaming. Skantha mentioned there was a dog present in the room, but dismissed it as bloody useless. He had severed her carotid artery and caused damage to her spine and windpipe with a single blow. The doctor felt no remorse, no guilt. Upon arriving at Blackhead Quarry, Skantha disposed of the remains of the phone in the swamp, attempting to get rid of any potential damning evidence and exchanges between the two of them. The following steps were to line the boot of the BMW with cardboard boxes, into which Skantha placed bags of his clothes and shoes. When the teenager asked Dr. Skantha what he was planning on doing with the knife, he casually replied, "I'll cut some chicken or something." After leaving Blackhead Quarry, the teenager and Dr. Venod Skantha returned to Skantha's Duxford Crescent home to clean the car. They then headed to Balclutha to the residence of Skantha's ex-girlfriend, Bridget Clinton. Bridget had ended their relationship a few months earlier, citing Skantha's severe drinking problem, including his habit of drinking Sauvignon Blanc straight from the bottle. She had initially expected Skantha earlier that evening to sign some legal documents, but had told him not to come due to his lateness. Nonetheless, Skantha and the teenager arrived around 2:30 a.m., with Skantha explaining his delay by claiming he had fallen asleep after work. Skantha suggested having a bonfire to toast marshmallows the next day. The following day, they visited the warehouse where Skantha purchased a large terracotta pot for the fire since they couldn't find a coal bucket. Shortly after returning home, Bridget went back to the store to return an item and came back to find the fire blazing in the yard. Noticing what seemed to be clothing items in the flames, Skantha told Bridget he was burning some of his daggiest clothes, a charcoal grey jumper he wore around the house, and a pair of grey sweatpants. During the fire, Amber Rose Rush's driver's license and phone case were also incinerated. Unbeknownst to Bridget, she sat toasting marshmallows over flames that were destroying crucial evidence of a recently committed murder. The news of Amber Rose's death spread quickly, prompting Lisa, her mother, to appeal to her daughter's friends for any information about what happened. After purchasing a card and flowers from the same supermarket where Amber Rose used to work, along with a few bottles of wine for Venod, Bridget, Venod, and the unnamed teenager visited Lisa in a motel room. Venod Skantha hugged Lisa, offering his condolences. He also inquired whether Amber Rose had died by suicide, a notion Lisa firmly rejected. In a calm demeanor, Skantha attempted to divert suspicion towards other potential suspects, including Amber Rose's stepfather and an ex-boyfriend who had previously injured her arm. After the meeting, Skantha and his ex-girlfriend, Bridget, dropped the teenager off at his home in Dunedin. During the drive, Skantha and the teenager spoke in whispers, with the teenager making it his priority to act normal and unaffected. He was terrified for his own life and that of his family, as Skantha had made threats against all of them if the teenager revealed any of the sinister details. After dropping off the teenager, Skantha and Bridget returned to Skantha's home, where they sat drinking wine on his deck. Unbeknownst to the pair, they were already being followed by the police. The authorities had drained the Blackhead quarry and located the remains of Amber Rose's cell phone. Meticulously, they had recovered the data from her phone, directly implicating Dr. Venod Skantha as a prime suspect in her murder. Upon being dropped off at home, the teenager immediately notified the police about the murder and Skantha's involvement. He provided crucial evidence against Skantha, having purposefully left blood on the sole of one of his shoes and not thoroughly cleaning Skantha's BMW to leave evidence for the authorities. At home, Skantha began playing with a samurai sword and accidentally cut the tip of his finger. Bridget Clinton hurriedly drove him to a nearby hospital, but on the way, their journey was interrupted by a police stop, leading to Skantha's immediate arrest. The arrest marked the culmination of an intensive investigation that had already unearthed significant evidence against him, including the blood traces left in his car and the data retrieved from Amber Rose Rush's phone. Following Skantha's arrest, the investigation revealed the extent of his relationship with Amber Rose and other teenagers. Witnesses testified about Skantha's habit of hosting parties for minors, supplying them with alcohol and drugs, and his predatory behavior. The teenager, whose testimony was crucial, recounted the threats Skantha made against him and his family, and the coerced assistance he provided in disposing of evidence. During the trial, Amber Rose's sister, Chantal Rush, testified about her concerns regarding Skantha's intentions and her suspicions about his grooming behavior. She recounted Amber Rose's initial excitement about Skantha, viewing him as a father figure, and her subsequent disillusionment when the nature of his intentions became clearer. Further evidence showed Amber Rose's attempts to extract money from Skantha, either through blackmail or by involving the police, which ultimately led to her tragic murder. The testimony painted a grim picture of manipulation and exploitation by Skantha. The trial was a harrowing experience for Amber Rose's family, who had to relive the trauma of her death through the presentation of evidence and witness testimonies. The courtroom heard how Amber Rose had been silenced permanently for standing up to Skantha, who sought to eliminate any threat to his reputation and freedom. In the end, Skantha was found guilty of the murder of Amber Rose Rush. The verdict brought some closure to her family, but the scars of the tragedy remained deep. Amber Rose's mother, Lisa, tragically took her own life in February 2019, a devastating consequence of the profound grief and loss following her daughter's murder. On April 14, 2021, Venod Skantha was found dead in his prison cell. His death occurred on the same day the New Zealand Court of Appeal dismissed his appeal against his murder conviction. The aftermath of the trial saw an increased focus on safeguarding measures within the community and efforts to educate young people about the dangers of grooming and exploitation. Amber Rose Rush's legacy became a call to action for stronger protections and greater awareness to prevent such tragedies in the future.